agreeing to be with us here again. I must say that you left a very serious impression on those who listened to you last week. And it serves to, it speaks to the power of the human body and mind to deal with violence against it and how we survive it. I don't know. You still have us wondering, how did, your journey and how you got out of it. So today, we, of course, have to step on the gas a bit so that we can make people understand that it did not end with the person that
my children's father.
Your children's father. And it continued, it got worse, actually.
Yeah, I jumped from the pot and straight into the fire.
Right.
So tell us about that and give us kind of like a timeline in terms of when this second person...
It was a couple years after, maybe 9 to 10 years after.
So before we do that, let me take a pen. For those of you who hear her for the first time, last week she told us about growing up and seeing domestic violence in her family, between her mom and dad. Ironically, history repeated itself after seeing her mother planast with a cutlass. She too had the same thing happen to her, planast, and while she was 6 months pregnant, you actually ended up, if I remember clearly, you ended up running in the street
to the police station.
Yeah. And I guess it was way over and beyond that you couldn't take it anymore and you decided to run to the police station. How did that turn out, if I remember?
I believe the police came. I was removed. Well, I would say I left on that day. But unfortunately, I went back after I had my baby.
What made you go back? Because we hear that story many times.
The person was a very threatening person. So there was always a fear for him. There was always a fear.
This is the person who put the gun to your head?
Yes, correct.
Right, yes. And what confused most people is that should have been the end of him there. But nothing happened.
Nothing happened. I went back.
You went back?
He was always a threatening person, so it was very hard to get out.
So you went back more for fear for your life?
Yes.
And how long did that last?
It lasted between a year to 2 years. Because I got out finally just before my daughter had turned 3.
What prompted that decision?
Another planers.
So it seems as though the cutlass was his weapon of choice of intimidation, one of them.
Yes, one of them.
And what would prompt that? I mean, he gets angry and that's it, or what?
As I would have mentioned last week, I mean, he's not even an inch taller than Kamika, and Kamika is tiny. So it's like that was his power. Being abusive and being loud and being aggressive may have been his power. I'm just assuming. Because, I mean, there's no excuse for it.
Yep. And I guess the insecurities of himself being neglected by his own father. And,
yes, he was.
And, inflicting that violence on somebody else is a way to maintain a sense of control and power.
Yes.
Right?
So it's safe to say that generally that... and what they call the curse? Generational curse.
Yeah.
Is a real thing.
It is, definitely it is. It is.
Yeah, because you experience certain things, he experienced certain things, and you all come together. And
correct.
Sometimes we wonder how two people with the same experience could actually come together and take it out on each other what they saw.
Yeah. You would think that you wouldn't want to do to somebody probably the things that you saw would have experienced, but apparently it's not so.
Correct. I mean, it's difficult to. I mean, it's one thing to say it, and another thing to practice it.
Yeah.
because again, you're living with the shame and the insecurity. So this is the only way you know how to express yourself
Yes, correct.
with others.
So you decided to leave.
Yeah.
Where did you go?
I went to my where I lived before with my mom, my grandparents. It was a family home.
Right. And you settled there.
Yes.
But then things took some turn there too?
Yeah, he would have continued being threatening and so aggressive. Even after the relationship ended, I would have moved on. He would have moved on. He still wanted that control over me. So the abuse, I would say, continued because he would have seen me in the road and, try to attack me many times. Many times. I remember one time, I don't know if I would have mentioned it last week, where he tried to attack me, where I had a then boyfriend, and he was beaten by my boyfriend.
Right.
And the family was upset about that.
His family.
Someone would have stood up for me, and his family was upset about that. They say their exact words was that is your children's father. How could you let that happen?
Not why did he decide to cross the line and
Exactly.
attack your boyfriend?
Exactly.
He attacked me.
Right.
But
And
I
you-
mean, you're not going to sit and let somebody attack your wife or your girlfriend.
Correct.
So that is what happened. So it seems like they all forgot all the situations that I have been in before.
That he is the main perpetrator of all of the violence that
Yeah.
you've experienced. So it's deflecting the blame now onto her, onto
Yeah.
the victim.
So so what could you have done? Fight your boyfriend?
Absolutely nothing. And I will do it all again, do absolutely nothing, because honestly, he would have deserved what he have gotten for all that he would have done to me.
Now, let's stick up in here. And those of you who are listening, do you see the behavior of children now today, where it's coming from? Because
Definitely.
I am hearing my mother. My mother was going to not carry me carry me by the police station alone. She was bringing me home to the people's house for me to apologize. But instead of that, the family this time defended him.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a good example.
Yeah, and we see it happening a lot. Even if we move away from the topic, when you go to the bullying, you see that's what's happening. The bullies' parents, they defend their child.
And it is very sad to know that a man attacked you and your boyfriend defended you. And all of a sudden, no, you the bad guy here.
Correct.
If you're just joining us, you're listening to Dependency, and we're speaking with Delana, who is giving part 2 of her story here, of her horrifying experience. Now,
Well, before we do that, Garth, just to welcome our viewers on Facebook and YouTube. We are up live now, and please remember to like the live when you enter, because it really does help the show.
yes, thank you very much for joining us. And we inching along with this story here because there are a number of households are experiencing this right now, and the women or men don't know what to do. Let's hope from listening to this young lady here today, you will finally decide to make a decision, as she did. But you also mentioned about being assaulted by certain people that you're familiar with. When did that happen and how?
More so while growing up, let's say around the ages between 10 to the early teens. Yeah.
What happened?
To be honest, if I give any details at all, any family listener out there will know who it is. So, let's not go down that road.
Right.
Yeah.
But it
Yeah.
was
A close relative.
harm unto yourself. Who harmed
Correct.
you? Anybody knew?
Nobody knew. I told 2 of my relatives older as I got older, and older means in my 30s. Yeah.
And nothing happened.
Nothing, no.
Is that individual still alive?
Yes, he is.
So after all is said and done, you got rid of Badman. He eventually gave up. Eventually.
Maybe now, yes. Now, yes. This is like 12 years later. I'm finally at peace.
But then you met someone after him,
Yes, I did.
and you thought that that was going to be the hallelujah moment for you, right? Because tell us about how
you
this
met
happened.
and how
Well,
Yeah.
relationship.
I was more into the gospel side of things. You know, people like your loyal listeners will follow the Calypsonians, and so they listen too. So, you know, I would have been following and friends on Facebook with gospel artists, the radio announcers, and so forth. And out of the blue, one of the gospel artists started liking my stuff a little more regular, messaged, and it started there. So for me, I mean, you know, like how you could judge people wrongly, I think you could judge them rightly as well. You know, I thought that I was judging this person rightly, you know, being a gospel artist. I was like, you know, this might be a good person my children could look up to, somebody I could learn from, learn more about the faith, learn more about God. You know, that it was really on my mind.
A positive
A
influence.
positive influence to my children. And it was the opposite. If I thought I had hell with my children, father, this was definitely the worst. And I would say the worst because of who he was. Because you would expect more.
Of course.
You're a pastor, you're somebody you know, respected in high places and so forth. You expect more from these type of people.
Absolutely.
So it will hurt more to experience this type of thing from this, you know, native person.
If you're just joining us, so listen to Dependency, we're going to take a break. And when we return, we're going to hear about this part of it. I think would have been the biggest letdown for Helena in her life. And we can understand why from how she started relating this part of her story. So let's go to that break. And when we return, more right here on our Dependency, where every life is a biography. Yes. Okay. Shortman is off site and carrying this. Who's going to be carrying the broadcast afterwards? So let's continue. And in the meantime, while Shortman sorts out this technical issue, how did you meet? Right, you said on Facebook.
On
Yes.
Facebook.
Right, and then
So when did you actually physically meet? Because seeing somebody, I mean, you're interacting with a celebrity, let's say, online, and you know, feeling nice about it, getting some attention. How did it develop from there? When did you first meet face to face? And
We probably met face to face like a month or two later, really early.
at his
He had
request?
came home to my where I lived at that time.
so you all exchanged phone numbers. You started chatting on the phone eventually,
Yeah.
and then you invited him over to meet because you're proud of.
Yeah, who he was. He seemed very cool and calm and collective, humble. You know, yeah.
Introduced to the family. Your mom picked up anything?
I wouldn't say the family, no, because I was not living home. I had moved out and I was renting an apartment at that time.
Okay.
So it wasn't really introduced to the family, more so just the kids and I were living together.
Right. You introduced him.
The children at that time would have really loved him, knowing who he was. they started to enjoy. Well, we were always listening to the music, so, to know that this is the person you're listening to. So the children are excited, they're happy,
Right.
uncle. And, I was happy about that.
Yeah.
And it didn't take long to go left. It didn't take long to go left. We probably met physically in November of 2015. And by February 2016, that's when it started to go left.
In what way?
I remember I would have messaged one of the radio DJs saying happy birthday. I mean, nothing out of the ordinary. And I didn't even delete the message because it's nothing to me. It's nothing.
Something that you would have done before.
Even if before you came into the picture, we would have messaged each other happy birthday, things like that. And he saw that message and he went haywire with that. He didn't hit me then, but I started to see the red flags. He would have scattered stuff and, started to carry on. And for me, I was shocked because...
You wasn't expecting that reaction.
Yeah. So
just ask you, so why you must go say happy birthday to this person?
Yeah. That's where the insecurities come in again.
Correct.
So maybe because he would have said he had experiences where his past people messaging people and it was more than just a message. So there's where the insecurities came in again.
Right.
So, he had his tantrum and so forth. And I remember that day, I wasn't going to work that day. I had a day off and I was going to a field trip with my kids. And my phone went off for the entire day because he kept calling, kept messaging, sorry, things like that. And I remember replying to one of the messages and said, when I get home, I don't want you there, because I am not going to, deal with this type of behavior anymore.
He had a key?
Yes, he did. So when I got home, he was there with the sorries. And maybe he may have brought up his insecurities as to his reaction and so forth. And, it was at the top of my head and I allowed him to stay. I didn't mean to say it bad, but the stupidity in us sometimes. I seen it about me. I'm not saying it about nobody out there. I seen it about me. And by April, that's when it got out of hand. It started to get physical. And it's a funny thing, it got physical because he was now chatting with other females and I found out. So when I questioned him about it, that's when he got physical towards me for doing that. I think one of the reasons how I found out as well, I had a dream, really woman does have a dream. And then I had a cell phone that he had used prior and I think my phone had mashed up and I went to use the same phone and when I logged into Facebook, his Facebook was happened to be there. So it was just a coincidence. And that's how I saw the messages that he was messaging these other people. And when I approached him about it, he got physical towards me. So compare a happy birthday to other types of messages.
Yes.
So physical in the sense that you got slapped, cuffed,
Well,
shook?
we fought because, at that time, I was still hot-tempered.
So you just throw down too?
Yeah. So we fought. We fought. Honestly, I remembered pulling a knife and all. Because in my mind, I'm not going through this again.
Yeah.
In my mind. So I was hot-tempered at that time.
Right.
But
And your children was noticing this?
I think one of my children was at home at the moment. But we were in the bedroom, the door was closed. So she would have been hearing the commotion, but not, fully knowing what was taking place. And I it's like after that, like I just became somebody I don't even know who I was.
Kind of accepted that this is your fate, basically, that
Because what they would have done, after the first attack, the statements that were made towards me was that you're a Christian.
By whom?
The same
The same
fellow?
person?
Yeah, you're a Christian. If I ask you to leave, why are you behaving like that? You're a Christian.
Wait.
If I retaliate, you're a Christian.
Meaning what?
If I retaliate to the abuse, if I said leave my apartment,
Right.
Christians don't say those things. Christians don't behave in that manner. So because I am a Christian, I should not put you out of my apartment. Because I'm a Christian, I should not fight back. Because I'm a Christian, I should not defend myself or stand up for myself. That was his statement he keep using over and over and over to try to justify his actions.
I wonder if he...
are confused.
Yeah, because he's a Christian too, not so? So why are you as a Christian doing these things?
So it's
To
okay to
somebody
harm someone as a Christian,
But not okay
the
to
person,
defend
the other
yourself.
Christian must not.
Yes.
How?
I guess turn the other cheek.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lord.
And you agreed with that?
Apparently, I did.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Let's go, short man. let's go to a break, please. And when we return, we're going to hear why this Christian here agreed with that, because and you, I mean, when he leaves you still listen to what he does, and so you hear him singing, he go to church and preach and all these things, right? Let's go to that break, please. Remember, folks, this is not about the offender here, but this is about the victim who survived it. Whoever this person is, we really do business. We just want the message out there so other men who doing it, or other women who doing it to their partner or wife can understand the hurt and pain that you cause and the domino effect coming out of it. This is what this is all about, all right? So, and if the person is listening, I hope that he would have gotten help. And because I was no angel, I was an insecure. Most men, we are insecure. But then how you learn going along the way is what helps the change, you know. So I hope he would have gone through that change, right? So let's go to that break and we'll be back.
Pero name Larry. I'm getting rid of him now. Let's take a selfie. It looking good, boy. I putting it online.
Hey, I thought you say you went to the beach with your parents.
Who's you?
It's me, Larry, from online.
Hola, my name is Elena. Well, it's actually not my real name. You don't really care, do you? All you care about is once you pay your money to my boss that I look pretty, smell nice, smile for you, and let you have good time. Enjoying yourself and doing to me whatever you want to do for the money you paid. What you don't see or know is that I don't get any part of the money you paid. My boss takes all of it. I am forced to work, taking as many clients as my boss tells me to. I am beaten, made to take drugs, and I cannot leave this kind of work on my own. I am a victim of human trafficking. Please, por favor, help me.
Join us this Sunday, 30th March, for episode 13 of Eye on Dependency, where every life is a biography.
The world is filled with evil people who think it's okay to physically abuse a partner and go to church the next day to preach or sing the gospel. Husbands who think it's okay to rape their wives. Men or women who think it's okay to sexually assault or traffic a child. This Sunday, Garth and Natasha delve into part 2 of
I am her, and this is my story.
Yelena has been through it all and will be back to tell her truth. Listen live at a new time, 12:30 p.m. on I-95.5 FM, or watch live on the I on Dependency Facebook page or YouTube channel. The Counter Trafficking Unit, Ministry of National Security, brings you I on Dependency. We don't just share stories, we change lives.
Thank you for staying with us. This is I on Dependency at a new time. Good afternoon to you. If you
Just for the month of April, don't
Just
tell
for the
them.
month
Yes, so
of
don't get
April.
accustomed to this time, please.
Just for the month of April, and welcome again to our viewers on Facebook and YouTube. Don't forget to like the live as you're inside, and of course our listeners on I-95.5.
Right. And before we go, we, of course, in our continued research on substance abuse and its related ills, we have that a feature, just about 3 minutes, about vaping and brain health. And talking about tough subjects with your children. Mm-hmm. More importantly, you all know there was a picture making the rounds this week of another member of our regiment falling through the cracks, let's say, allegedly. I'm going to show you that picture today, but in a context, not to embarrass him or discredit the regiment or anything, but I want to say a few words to servicemen today, all arms of the protective service, right? So we're going to deal with that in a short while. But let's go back to Yelena. So continue, because I don't know.
So basically you're reliving the same experience you had with your child's father, but in this instance, this is someone who is a prominent member of society, is known and liked. Mm-hmm. He also introduced the whole the cycle of the honeymoon phase, and then back around with the apologizing and also the victim blaming, because as you just mentioned, when you react or to defend yourself from his physical abuse, he's telling you are Christian, so you have basically no right to fight back. Mm-hmm. To fight back.
So you just let him know that he... Sorry, go ahead.
No. I was just going to ask, how did you feel after that encounter, and what was your thinking going forward? What did you think about this relationship and how it might end?
I really started to feel like I was really doing something wrong. You know, if I change my reaction, things may change. So that's how I started to see it. And instead of reacting to something, I would have stayed quiet to see if it would have changed anything. But
it didn't.
Apparently staying quiet does really ruffle some people's feathers more than anything.
Absolutely it doesn't, because they're telling you that, because if they tell you, I don't like the expression on your face, it has a deeper meaning to it. It's saying to you that you are the cause of my upset. Basically, you are the one making me upset. So you need to change your behavior.
Yeah, because one time he would have said, had you not invaded my privacy and go into my Facebook, I would not have reacted that way. That was his response at one time.
And didn't you let him know that being unfaithful to is unchristian-like?
Of course I did.
And how did you respond to that?
No response. At one time, I remember asking him, since you say that I was wrong for what I did, which caused your reaction, had one of your daughters did such, would it give an excuse for her boyfriend to react in the same way that you did? And I'm yet to get an answer.
Wow. So what so obviously you continued the relationship with him, but how did it progress? And what kinds of things would trigger his physical abuse?
90% of the time is him speaking to other people on social media. That would have caused the confusion, the abuse, because it's apparently I can't see anything. And I will say it as though, I mean, it's okay for you to speak to all these people. And so what about me? I would have had friends. I would have known people before you. What is the difference? What is the problem? And he had me kind of isolated. If I would have posted a picture, he will go under the picture and look at how many males like it. Who is the male? Click on the picture. Click on the comments. See who commented. Who is this? Who is that? Where he from? He did like you. All it was as an ex. And it was really frustrating. And his excuse would be, because he would have done the same thing. He's a public figure.
So he has to protect his image.
Yeah. So for me, I
By
can't do it,
controlling
but
you.
it's okay for him to do it because he's a public figure.
Did you all live together or he just frequented?
No, he was dealing with a situation where he was accused of the same abuse in his previous relationship. So he kind of wanted to get out of the area where he were, to get out from the embarrassment and the so forth. And he would have come down on my side because it was two different, parts of the country.
Right.
So he left where he were and he came and he moved in where I lived.
And you gladly accepted him, even though you saw all of those red flags.
Yeah.
Some women are like, you're one of them who tend to think he will change eventually.
I did think like that. But more or less, I was ashamed. I was really and truly ashamed. Even my closest friend, I had to tell a girl, and this is recently, we never talk about this because I was really ashamed because of who he was. I thought that I would have gotten somebody better.
Yeah,
I would have been delivered from all this nonsense. And I got somebody worse.
And part of the thing too, I think why women don't speak up about it, apart from the shame, is knowing that people are not going to believe you.
Yeah.
Because of how these men are protected by their families and by their
I remember
followers.
speaking to one of the ladies he spoke to because she had reached out to me as a lady and, she showed some compassion and I told her what he was doing when I had saw the messages. And I started to record it. I lost a couple phones along the way, but I started to record it.
You lost phones because what?
He would have
destroyed
mashed
them?
up, he would have mashed up a lot of my cell phones. But I started to record it because if you see or hear this person, by me saying anything different to what you see, it is unbelievable.
Right.
So if you don't hear it for yourself, you would never believe. And I have hundreds of recordings. So if anybody come from me, listen, I have
You have receipts.
I have my receipts.
You have receipts. Yeah, and that would be very, very distressing to him because he wants to maintain that image that everybody has of him as this holier than thou, responsible adult.
And I think what I did also, I was more or less protecting him than myself.
Oh, okay.
Because of, what he had went through before. I was trying to protect him. I don't want this to come out. How we go look? Some people would have defended you and say this is not true. You would have said the person was being vindictive towards you. So, somebody else to come out and say the same exact things, how it will look. So I was more protecting him than myself.
Yep.
And apart from it, did you feel on top of the world that you have somebody actually dealing with you who the public?
That's how I felt at first. The relationship was never public because of his circumstances prior. But that's how I felt
But
because
did he
I
carry you
really,
out? Did you all go out? Did you all go on dates? You know, go to a little cinema, go to a little party?
we would have, but as I say, in that gospel circle, it was not made public to the gospel circle because of his circumstances. Because I don't want nobody to vex with me, but you see, Christians, listen, one mistake you make and you're out. That's how some Christians are. I am a Christian, and I'm telling you what I have seen. One mistake you make, and they say they put you in the black book.
There's no forgiveness?
For some, no, and I'm telling you what I have seen.
Which is supposed to be the cornerstone of this religion.
I am not making anything up here. This is what I have seen with my own eyes. So he was trying to maintain this, this image that, I am not this person that they said that I was.
Yep.
So he kept it like that. He tried to keep it like that. So, me at the same time trying to protect him, I said nothing.
This reminds me of the common response that people have to if a woman is sexually assaulted and she reports it. People will say about the perpetrator, but she is ruining his life.
Yeah.
Completely ignoring the fact that an abuse and a violation has taken place here. And this is the parallel that I'm seeing with your story. It's like, what about him?
Yeah.
As if, because he's the perpetrator.
Yeah.
What about you? Why doesn't anybody focus on the victim in these circumstances? I mean, I know the reason why, but but it's not commonplace to think like that.
If you're just joining us, you're listening to Dependency, and we are speaking here with Elena. It's really, and remember, this is a time we'll be on for the month of April till after the election, so get used to it for a while. Good afternoon, Rosemary from Brooklyn, New York. Thank you very much for joining us. Tell your friends about us, and while you're there, please remember to like and subscribe to the channel. There was no point in time. Did you feel like I need to tell somebody about this? I reached out to somebody.
I did, and that person or persons was his mother and sister.
Oh,
I'm afraid to ask you what the response was.
No, that's not the person.
I'm afraid to ask you what the response was.
Oh, God.
What was the response?
The response was a positive response in the sense that they would have condoned his actions. But what could
condemn,
have
you
been-
mean? Not condone?
No, they don't condone his.
Right.
Right, because
actions.
you said the response was a positive one, which
Yeah.
means that they didn't condone it.
They did,
what he
yes,
was doing.
correct,
Okay,
correct.
Yeah, let's get that correct. Yeah.
But what could have been done? Nothing really could not have been done.
Did the mother bring both of you together and decide to speak to both
She
of you?
could not even do that.
Why?
Because if they were to even say anything to him, he would say it's not true.
So you mad then?
Apparently.
Clearly.
People, you're listening to this. People really go, because this is kind of thing that make people go mental at times too. You screaming from the mountaintop that you are being abused, and yet nobody's going to believe the perpetrator say you lying, and people will just move on from that.
Yes.
This actually happens.
Yes. More often than you think, God.
Yeah.
In many abusive relationships, I mean, we have numerous examples of this, where the victim in this circumstance will tell somebody in confidence or hoping that they might be able to intervene, and they'll be like, "No, I don't believe that.
Yeah.
He wouldn't do that. I
Yeah,
know him.
yeah.
He don't behave so.
Yeah.
That's not him." And then turn on the victim now and say, "So why are you saying these things about this person? Something wrong with you."
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
What you're accusing somebody of is being a pathological liar, you know.
Yes. But you have to be someone who is willing to inflict physical and emotional abuse on somebody. Something has to be wrong with you somewhere. Something pathological.
Or because, so what did you do to make him hit you?
Yeah, that's what they will ask.
Of course.
That is why I would have said 90% of the time, the abuse is because of his infidelity. And let me correct myself, because they will say it's not infidelity if you're not having physical connection. So it's okay to speak to various peoples how you want to speak with various people, and that's okay. So let me don't use the word infidelity. And those were the reasons for the abuse.
Indiscretion, say that. Because if you are in a relationship with somebody, you don't expect that either party will be talking to other people on the side and keeping it secret, because if you hadn't seen his Facebook feed, you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
So which means then that, okay, now there are times he would fall asleep, right? The phone. No, I ain't going there, Natasha. But the phone. What is he do with his phone?
I think his phone was always close to him.
So
Always close to him.
So it's not a case of like he could go in the bathroom and leave the phone outside and bed, and that is not going to happen.
Very rare that will happen. And even if that happens, I mean, everybody have a lock on their phone.
Right.
So, you know, yeah.
So okay, so it won't be a case. Okay, like if I want to take a nap and I expect a call, I would leave my phone in Natasha and say, look, if this person calls, tell them, you know.
I don't have anything like that.
I mean,
I don't have anything like that. No.
I am honestly very uncomfortable with that, because I mean I don't know the people he's talking to. Not that I am suspecting him of anything, but you know, I'm not.
no, but to me, if you are in a relationship, let me just say this, okay.
You should be comfortable leaving
But of
your
course,
phone.
I remember when my phone broke and I was going to town to fix mine. Natasha was home. She lent me her phone to go with, so in case she had to call me from home. This is what I'm saying. If you could reach a position like that in your relationship, you know you have a secure relationship.
Yes, correct.
Because sometimes I'm in the bathroom, my phone ring, I say, Natasha, the phone ringing, answer it. We have an NGO, we have a company. Come on.
Yeah.
You know? Don't be ignoring it. She on the computer, my phone ringing down the place and she won't answer it.
Yeah, because they'll call back.
Right. But see, the thing is, this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That is the comfort zone I would like to reach in a relationship. That didn't happen.
Yeah.
As far as you're concerned with you.
No.
So
No. He would even, it will have times he will go missing for hours. And he will be outside or wrong in the back of the house having these long conversations on the phone with these people. And I mean, somebody out there might say, oh, it's just a friend, it's nothing. But the same conversations that you were having with me when our relationship started, those are the same conversations that you are now having with other people. So is it okay?
It can't be, because why can't he have those conversations in front of you? Why are you sneaking away and hiding? I mean, that can't be good either. That's also.
I remember one day I came home early from work and he was outside. I mean, as fast as he got inside and he came off the phone, and well, a fight started that day. Because I know what you was up to. As soon as you saw a taxi pull up and you saw me coming out of that car, you ended that call so fast and you got inside and you tried to lie down as nothing at all. So, you know.
Did he think you didn't see him or something?
Yeah.
So you confronted him.
Yes, I did.
And what happened?
He had an outburst. I mean, why are you asking me any questions? I wasn't talking to anybody of your concern. You know, things like that.
And the physical abuse
would
continued?
Yes, it would have continued. Yeah.
How bad did it get?
It's a pity Kamika is not here today, because I remember one time, I don't think I was working at that time, and I literally ran out of the house to pick up my children from school, and I cried. I cried so much on one of my children's teacher's shoulder. I mean, I don't know what I would have done without her. It had times I would have to call her. I called her at 2 o'clock in the morning, and sometimes I apologizing after. I say, forgive me, I'm sorry, right? But, she was always there. So that day I would have ran down and cried to that teacher. And she went to the principal of the school. And they would have contacted Kamika.
Okay.
I would not have known who they spoke to. They just said, you need a place to stay for the night, at least something, whatever. We'll see what tomorrow brings. And they took me home to Kamika.
Oh.
That was how I met her. She took me and my children into her home. I mean, I can't even explain how I felt at that time to know that somebody would have opened up their home to me. She would have given my children and I her bed to sleep on. I didn't even know where she slept that night, probably on a chair. I mean, so I can't thank her enough for that. And I remember her time when it was really bad. He would have accused me of infidelity. And I think somebody would have called him and said X, Y, and Z with this guy. The guy, I believe, was our driver. And all I could remember, honestly, I went to the shower, getting ready for work, and I blacked out because he approached me while I was having my shower and accused me of such and whatever. But I said, this is not true, X, Y, and Z. Yeah. And I blacked out because he would have hit me so hard. Literally with the Tweety bird thing, with the birds flying.
Yes.
That was literally how I felt. He would have hit me so hard that I can't even recall. All I remember going to the bathroom, him approaching me with this conversation. I got a lash, and that was it. When my eyes opened, I was trying to figure out what had just happened.
And you were still in the bathroom when you...
Yeah.
So he didn't even pick you up or anything?
Nothing like that.
Just popped and walked away?
He didn't walk away. He was still standing there. So I was trying to figure out what just happened. And you seeing me, because obviously you will see that I am blacking out. And you had no reaction towards it. At least 3 times I would have ended up in the hospital. One time he would have slammed my head against the wall. One time he would have hit me so hard that I got an ear infection, ended up by the doctor. Another time I would have blacked out, ended up in the hospital. One time I got hit with a laptop. And the laptops now are not like the laptops then. The laptops then were heavy laptops. Yes. Now they're making it different, light and so forth and fancy. It was a heavy laptop.
The VCR type laptop, long time.
A heavy laptop to my head.
If you're just joining us, you're listening to Dependency, and yes, what you're hearing here is a biography of someone who would have survived years of abuse at the hands of several partners, of a couple partners, and just survived it to tell you this story today. If you are in a relationship like this or in a marriage like what you're hearing right now, let's hope you can learn something from Yelena this afternoon.
Try and find help.
And try and find help.
Advice we can give.
Because
reach out to somebody.
Yeah, and speaking of which, we just have to say congratulations to Kamika.
Yes, and
yesterday,
Brent.
And Brent, and you'll hear more about that when we have Kamika here.
Yes.
Let's go to a break now. Let's give Yelena a chance to catch herself here, and we'll talk about what made her decide to actually bring this to an end once and for all. We don't know if it was easy, if it was difficult, but we'll find out here on Dependency when we return. Stay right there.
Slavery, a terrible time in our history. The kidnapping, buying and selling of people for profit, the exploitation of another human being. It still exists today. It has a new name: human trafficking. Anyone can be a victim. There is forced labor, sexual exploitation, and domestic servitude. Human trafficking is a worldwide problem and an emerging concern for us here in Trinidad and Tobago. If you know of or suspect human trafficking activity, call the counter-trafficking hotline at 800-4CTU or 800-4288. Human trafficking is a crime. Identify it, report it, stop it. A message from the Counter-Trafficking Unit of the Ministry of National Security.
Ah boy. I feel like I'm gonna buy myself a senorita tonight.
Nah. You know you might be promoting slavery.
Slavery? What you talking about?
Hey, modern day slavery or human trafficking is just what some of these people just do. You know some of these women were tricked to come here? Some are held against their will, abused, and even beaten. Most times the girls don't even see any of the money that is paid for them. And every night, they just have to come out looking nice and sexy for somebody like you. Human trafficking is a serious problem and a serious crime. Persons who solicit commercial sex services may be contributing to human trafficking. A message from the Counter-Trafficking Unit of the Ministry of National Security.
Do you want to support our work at Ion Dependency? Here are 3 ways to do so. You can make a donation to the Ion Dependency account at Republic Bank. You can follow the Ion Dependency page on Facebook. You can subscribe to the Ion Dependency channel on YouTube. Liking, commenting, and sharing the live on a Sunday also helps. Thanks in advance for your support.
Thank you for staying with us. This is Ion Dependency, and we have Yelena again in studio, who's talking about the second abusive relationship or abusive partner that she was with, and the level of physical abuse that she suffered, which eventually landed her in hospital several times. So it was that severe. And this was from a person who was well known, well loved in the gospel fraternity. And as mind-blowing as it is to some people, God included, this is unfortunately a very common occurrence.
So let me ask this question, Natasha. Let me ask this, right? So after an episode, you actually, because you started off by listening to this person on air, right? So after some episodes, would the person go on air and you still would have your radio on listening to the person?
Yeah.
How did you feel? Because it's obvious he would be administering now and ministering, to the flock. How did you feel hearing that? Didn't it tempt you to pick up the phone one day and call? Tell me.
I mean, in my mind, I will like, if all you only know. Because one time after the abuse, I think he had a gospel concert. And you have to be hearing, somebody say, Jesus, Jesus. Really?
Yeah.
Really? But when you talk about that, you'll be judging. So, they really go down that road.
You're judging?
You're judging, yeah. You're judging. We all
fall short.
We all fall short. We all make mistakes. So, please don't judge. You shouldn't judge.
So, but in the home, the abuse included cuss words and...
Yes, correct.
Of course it did.
Yeah.
No, but how come? If the person, because they're telling you're a Christian, you shouldn't tell me leave, but I could beat the crap out of you and cuss and carry on. And then
it's okay.
Yes.
And then go out there and say somebody say Jesus.
Yes.
I just cannot marry the two. Sorry if I look shocked. I am, and Natasha, I've been through a lot. I'm not for the faint of. I'm not the faint of heart.
Yes.
I am no prude. I'm not perfect either. But remember I tell you, there's somebody, even in my family too, that say, may God bless, and they're one of the evilest persons I've ever met.
Yes.
And they love to say that.
Yes.
Every time they say, may God bless, I say, hate to hear it because I know the person.
Yes, yes, yes. Yep. People use the cover of, or the cloak of Christianity to disguise the nasty and wicked ways.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And not just Christianity either. Other religions too, but in this case, Christianity.
How? I just, listen. I am, Lena, I'm sitting here with you and Natasha and Tamika because of God.
Yeah.
Right? When I was in prison, I prayed and asked God, please, don't make me survive this so I can lead a better life when I left here. Right? When I leave here. And you can't marry too. How you could be preaching God and beat somebody to a pulp and then go back out there and do it? How? Did you ever ask that question of him or yourself?
I would ask that to myself, yeah. How they would feel inside. I will ask that many times. How they felt.
Wow.
So
then
no, go ahead.
It was kind of unfortunate that you treated me this way. Things will happen to you and I'm still there supporting you. I'm still there having your back, even though this is going on. And sometimes I'll say, when will you open your eyes? When will you change? I remember, when I gave the incident, when I got blackout in the bathroom, he would have spent some time in prison for being accused of the same exact things in his previous relationship.
Right.
So thinking, after spending this time in prison, having to reflect on your life, what he may have done wrong, thinking that this person comes out a changed man.
How long did he spend?
Just over a month in prison, about 35 days.
So he was sentenced, he wasn't on remand, he was sentenced to do time, that amount of...
I don't know the exact details. I just know one day he went to court and they put the handcuffs on and he had to go into prison.
It was that bad?
It was that bad
Okay.
of the accusations prior.
Okay.
And I was still there.
And you were with him all that time?
Yeah.
Something wrong with you or what's going on with you?
No, God, don't say that.
No.
I
mean that, and I know people listening to me ask the same question. What is wrong with you?
It was not even a year yet when these things had happened. So really and truly something was wrong with me. As I said earlier, it's like it was somebody I don't know who I was.
So that prison sentence was based on something that happened prior to you being involved with him?
Yes, very
So it
similar
came up
accusations
right.
that I started to see happening to me.
And did he acknowledge to you at any point that, this is a mistake I made in my life and I really, trying to do better?
I would have thought so, him coming out of the prison. But apparently not, because I blackout, I got a cough to blackout.
After that?
After that. And it continued because the relationship lasted 4.5 years.
Wow.
And that all those things started even before a year.
Right.
So as he just asked, what's wrong with you?
Nothing is wrong with you.
Because somebody's asking here on YouTube. Rosemary, thanks for the question. God, could you ask Elena, when she went to the hospital, what did you tell them at the hospital? Because obviously you have marks of violence.
I would have told them, not in full detail. So I would have told them it was a form of abuse. We had a fight or so forth. That is what I would have told them.
Did anyone encourage you to make a report?
No, they didn't.
At any point in time, did the victim and witness support unit get involved in your life at all?
No.
No?
They wouldn't unless you
make of course, yes, unless you make it. So what brought it to an end? What made you...
It was a very easy end, You see, my T-shirt says prayer changes things.
Yeah.
That was exactly how it happened. Because I remember many times I praying and I crying out to God to just remove this person. And those exact words, to remove this person. And one day he left and he didn't come back. And when I found out, he had ended up with somebody who would have embraced me. This is my friend. This is so-and-so, this is my friend. Right. And I would have been embraced by this friend who he ran off with. And, I mean, God is something else, eh? God is something else. I don't want to sound like I'm going to start a preacher because sometimes when I start, I doesn't finish. I remember a time the young lady messaged me when things started to happen with them.
Yeah, because he's continuing this behavior, yes, of course.
And listen, in my mind, I can't remember if I said it to her via the message. I said, Karma is a, you know. I said it to her. I did say to her, Karma is a
B.
Yeah, Karma is a B.
Because you knew that he was in a relationship living with someone and you got in there, you took him, well, fine. And I remember telling her, and at that time laughing at myself, I said, girl, this was the best thing that ever happened to me. But at the same time, she was crying out to me. I mean, I'm not the right person at that time.
Yes.
This is not something that I would wish on an enemy, even if I had one. But sometimes we all have to experience things to know the truth and to learn and to grow, because she and all would have heard these things about me and they would have joked about it. I remember sending messages and so forth and voice notes, and I was a joke to her going through him just leaving, because to me it was like, after you do all of these things to me, after I have been there for you, you just up and leave, no explanation, nothing. I mean, at that time, I was definitely dotisha, because when I was supposed to be, throwing a party, I was trying to figure how you could do this to me. Right. Yeah. So at that time, I was real dotish at that time.
Yep.
And it was a joke for her. And then come now, the same things happen to you. So you know what I'm saying. We do not ever rejoice on other people's downfalls and these type of things. Don't care, don't matter what and who it is.
Correct. But this also speaks to the fact that these men don't change.
No.
They don't change. All of the chances and all of the forgiveness and all of the protection doesn't change them, because there's something in their spirit and their soul that is lifting them up. And ironically, it's women who lifting him up, because he's going from woman to woman and finding a safe haven with one. As soon as he find one and settle down, licks.
Yeah. Because his behavior didn't change, and that's why she would have reached out to me, because she started to say, he having an outburst and she is so scared of him. And the same exact things that you would have done to me. You can't talk to these people. They're looking at the Facebook. Was the same exact things she was now telling me. So it hadn't changed.
No. Which is why it has to be, this kind of behavior has to be interrupted. It has to be interrupted, not by women, but by other men. Because if there are other men in his circle who are seeing and acknowledging the behavior and they are isolating him as he has isolated his partners, it would stop, It would stop. And no, let's stop relying on women to fix men, please. Can they try and fix each other?
But if I've never been taught how to fix myself,
who is going to teach them? Another man needs to teach you if you haven't been taught. No, but my point is, I think in instances like this, or in situations like this around domestic violence, men are the ones who acknowledge and understand that men are the perpetrators of this harm upon women. Men are the ones who need to step in and say, this is not acceptable. You do not treat women like this. These are the consequences for your behavior. You're not liming with us. We are not liming with you. We are not coming to your concerts. We are not supporting your career, your music, whatever. We are isolating you because we do not stand for this. And that is why this continues to happen, because men are not holding other men accountable for their actions. They are simply running to women who are like, yeah, I could fix him because I'm different. I'm not like Yelena. I could fix him. He's not going to do me that. And the mothers, on the other hand, and the relatives will be like, no, this is not the boy we raised.
Can a man like that change?
No.
Kamika?
I say no.
Tamika, let's take a few calls quickly. Just in the last, for this, before we ask you the answer to 6223937. Any man out there was like that and you changed? Elena, you'll tell us eventually when he left and you decided to, fully turn your life over to God and decide that that's it, you're done with that, you write off, man, I ain't want money again, I'm done with that. Here, let's listen. Hello, good afternoon.
Got Natasha.
Good afternoon.
Yes, Tamika, the ladies in the studio.
Yes.
Got Natasha, I'm going to give just a short story because I was a child who witnessed extreme domestic violence against my mother. Now, first to begin, Gata Natasha, my job in the public service was as a cleaner. And I go ahead in somewhere. My friends I went to school with, they were all shocked when they came and saw me in BIR being a cleaner. But listen, my mother died at age 48 because of domestic abuse. She had it so severe. She and my father separated. She had to live with us on her own, and she had it very hard. She died of distress with asthma from domestic abuse. Domestic abuse is one of the worst forms of distress that children can go through.
Yes.
The fathers, maybe, I don't know if some of them don't know what they're doing to their children. Because if you could stand up and watch your father, he's ill-treating your mother. He has done her something so evil. She's now on the ground unconscious, and he stands there stamping her forehead with his foot. And you are standing there as a child and you are watching that. That is tormentous for the rest of your life. Men, stop beating women. We are not your toys. We are not your tools. And the children, in the long run, they suffer. They suffer. Well, in my case, we had nobody to talk to because we were going to church. It's from church to next to my mother. Wow. And so that is how it went. So this story, what this young lady is saying, I can relate to it. And my dear, I wish you all the best. Love yourself first, please, before you love any man. Love yourself and your children. The two ladies there in studio, love you all selves. When you love yourself, then God will direct you to the right person. Much love, and I'm here listening.
Okay, and take care. 6223937. Hello, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, Gata Natasha.
Good afternoon.
It's a sad thing to say, but people don't change. They adjust, right? Because growing up, I had a traumatic childhood, right? And during my life, I'm 64 now. And seeing the behavior of men like myself who were abused and tortured, they tend to take out the anger on other people. I was fortunate that God blessed me with a wife who helped me to calm my anger. I was never anything a hitting woman. If I had hit a woman, I would leave. Right? I prefer to leave. But I would throw tantrums and pelting all over the place and I get angry. But I say I need to nobody because I have sisters. I don't want nobody with my sister. Right? But I like to say, I see men like myself join the church and the same behavior continue. All they did, they adjust. They don't change. And that's because the whole society expects men to be like robots and not feel pain. This thing has to be addressed from a society point of view. This macho man syndrome, I'm a big man because I could control my woman and all them things. But if you had to hit a woman to control her, then you're not a man.
So would you agree?
Love is what it would take to help.
Would you agree that men need to hold other men accountable for their actions?
Yes, but because of the way our society is, it wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
Why not? Why not?
No, yeah, but it
Because
wouldn't.
of the way we were brought up.
But a few men would do it, but it's not.
It have a few men would
It's
do
not
it,
common.
That is the only way it's gonna
majority
fix.
won't.
Yeah, it's not common. It's not common.
It's not common. It have men who would do it. Because if I have friends who see me doing, I would tell them
Yeah.
what they do is wrong. But not every man would do it.
All right, my brother. Thank you.
All right,
Natasha, I can see it now. You know, I pull up to pick up my partner. We going on lime, and he come outside cussing the wife inside, and when he come and sit on the car, one boy, your woman stressing you out again, or that's what the comment would
When
be.
the response should be, you need to drive off. This is we teaching our women how to deal with abusive men, but we're not teaching men how to react to other men who are abusive to women. Why we can't teach men how to do that?
Yeah, but listen to what that man just said. He found a woman who was able to deal with him after he came out of an abusive home. Listen to what she also said. She spoke to his parents and sisters, but they were both in fear to go and speak to him.
Correct.
Right? So my thing is, and I think this is in the Black Caribbean households, us saying men need to check themselves into therapy will come like a joke. And us saying that, hey, talk to your partner now. He can't be slapping up the girl. So you as a man now, you must be asking yourself, how I going and have this conversation with my partner if I for myself do even know how to have the conversation with myself? Because I mightn't be physically hitting a woman, but I might be verbally abusive. I might be emotionally abusive. I might be financially abusive because this woman has a child with me, and because I know she has to depend on me, and I am in the position where I am providing, I can act how I want.
Well, then it goes back then to how we raise our boys and girls.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right?
622-3937. Hello, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Hello. Good afternoon. 622-3937. Good afternoon. Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Good afternoon.
I just want to ask a question of the young lady. When you met this guy, was he in a relationship? Because you mentioned something about he was trying to get away, and he used to come where you were. Was he in a relationship when you met him?
No, he was not.
All right, that's what I wanted to know, because I was wondering if you were, if you didn't expect, what would have
The
happened?
same day we say here, you lose them, how you get them. I've heard of that many times, yeah. But no, at that time he was not in a relationship.
Or at least so he said.
Well, at least so he said.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. 622-3937. I know she was going.
Hello?
Yes.
Pretty bright. Hello.
Hi. Good afternoon.
Afternoon, God.
Good afternoon.
Natasha and the two ladies there.
Yep.
Good afternoon.
Friend from South, my lady. I'm cooking here and I'm getting sick, eh? You have belly like Job, and I bless the day that someone will come along to treat you like a queen. But take your time. And I am asking the question, could you not go on Sunday, go in the church and expose this man?
No, talking about that. We're talking about that off air, yes.
Yeah. Tamika would have done that already.
Yeah.
No, but you know that the church will chase out and the church will come in there to say that?
Most likely.
Hello?
Yes.
Hi.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I was going in the church and expose this man because it's not once, it's not twice. That is why you see long time they used to tell you when you get lashed once, is to run. Because this man beating you, your child looking at you getting licks. How is she going to grow up and trust men? This it is a heavy burden on her. And you have to love her, talk to her as much as you could, and let her take the right road, because some of these men out here, I don't know. I wasn't taking that. I'm telling you, I wasn't taking that. Thank God, my husband, I had a man who I married 40 years. He has passed 3 years ago, and I thank you, God. I don't want no man again. This is ridiculous, and the law is supposed to do something to these men.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
It is time that they do something about these men, because it's over and over and over again. Ladies, have a beautiful day. And God, you reach home safe. Love you all. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you. Same to you. 6223937. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to everyone in the studio.
Good afternoon.
Here's the thing, I've had not a personal experience in the sense that I, as a man involved in domestic violence, no. But as a young man, I was about 13 or 14 years old. I remember being woken up to the news that I lost a cousin to domestic violence in the most brutal of ways, in the most public of ways. And I say all of that to say this. That has scarred me in such a way that I have a zero tolerance to domestic violence at this point. And men on a whole, I don't think it should have to, I don't think someone should have to go through that to initiate that kind of zero tolerance on it. Because at the end of the day, I was only a teenager. I was considered technically still a child, right? And you have to take into consideration what a young person might actually be going through mentally, hearing about these things, seeing it, the children that is involved in the relationship, the children of the persons involved. All of these things we need to take into consideration. And men need to stand up and say, hey, that is your scene. Don't come around me. Don't speak to me. Lose my number. Forget I ever existed. Because I can't associate with somebody like you.
I agree.
Yes, agreed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, I agree with that. And if I have a friend who does that to his wife, I'm not going around him. If I know my brother does that to his wife, I'm not going to speak to him again. Because this means that we condone it and it's okay to do, you know.
And men do these things largely not just for other men's approval. As far as I understand, that's how the male psyche works. You're doing things for other men's approval. So if the men in your life or you are close to disapprove of your behavior, it's gonna change, no doubt.
6223937. Good afternoon. Any man out there who been like that and you saw the light?
Hello.
Yes.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Right, you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Right. Okay, good. All right, so I just want to take the conversation in a slightly different direction. Now, if somebody is doing something that is detrimental to somebody else, it means that they have been trained, they have been formed in an incorrect way. So I listened to what I think is Natasha. I think she said that men should hold other men accountable or assist them. What I want to suggest is that if within communities we have cells, when I say cells, I mean rooms where you would have experienced men available to speak to younger men who might be challenged with anger and other dysfunctional behaviors, to speak with them. Because remember, nobody deliberately goes out to do something wrong unless they were formed that way. So mercy and compassion is very important in a situation like this. So I want to suggest that at different levels, at the community level and probably even at the national level, you probably could have more programs on TV, the electronic media, on a regular basis, identifying and showing the ills of violent behavior towards women by men, so that men could see, if it is in their face on a regular, like if you could tell a lie many times and you repeat it, it comes across like a truth. But if you could show the positive side of not being abusive towards a woman, probably men will check themselves in their quiet space, because it's hard for a man to admit, because of ego, because of pride, that he's doing something wrong. But if it is that he's in a situation where he's being given messages, he could say, but what I did yesterday with Dora, with Jane, or whoever the case may be, probably I could have behaved a little differently. And that would probably allow him to be aware of what it is he's doing. So I don't want us to be, it's not a demand bad and demand bad and demand bad. Demand was improperly formed. That is what I will say. And therefore, if it is he's operating in that way, there are ways that we can deal with it, but it takes time. Because when you have an injured soul, it is not an easy thing to fix. It takes a lot of patience. As a matter of fact, Jesus Christ is the classic example. I mean, where we will want to chastise somebody, Jesus Christ would say, have mercy on that person. So, as a matter of fact, we're reading this weekend is about showing pity and having mercy. So we have to be very careful. We have created the men that we have, like it or not. So we have to form men in a way, we have to re-engineer them then, that they behave in a different way to what has been happening in the past. And when we begin to do so, well, then the country can say that how we have made the efforts to reform, to reshape, to re-engineer our men so that they operate in a different way. But I don't like the slant of he bad and he bad and he bad and he bad. We have him how he is. And if we as a society, as a collective, don't do something to change that, well, then crap will smoke we pipe.
Thank you very much, sir.
I agree. But I would leave the victims out of that equation. Yes, we as a society have a responsibility to our boys to raise them in a certain way, but once it does not involve the persons who have been harmed by this person.
Okay.
All right, my brother, thank you very much for your contribution. Shopman, let's go to video D. Let's get that out of the way quickly before we ask Elena to wrap up her session here. I'm sure she would have advice for women out there, especially who are going through this right now, and how to deal with it. But in keeping with our mandate, we have to do this for you quickly. Let's go, Shortman.
Video D.
According to the CDC, in 2024, e-cigarettes were the most commonly used tobacco product of middle and high school students in the U.S. Among kids who currently use the devices, just over 26% report smoking every day. While previous studies have described the detrimental effects of e-cigarettes on the heart and lungs, new studies are detailing the impact on a young person's brain. Dr. Nidhi Kumar is on call to tell us more about the health concerns. Good morning.
Good morning.
Those stats are disturbing. I mean, how big of a problem is vaping for underage kids and teens?
Well, currently there are over 1.6 million school-age children that are vaping using e-cigarettes. About 500,000 are in middle school. Now, the CDC does report that this number is down from 2022, so we are at the lowest we've been, but that is still a really big number of kids that are being affected.
And why do you think it's become so popular?
I mean, there's two pieces here. The first is youth-targeted marketing. You know, social media had a big hand here. These vaping products were accessible. They're discreet. They were colorful. They were flavorful. Of course, they were going to get their hands into children, and it almost seemed like they were targeting children. And then the other side of it is the susceptibility of a young person's brain to addiction. Nicotine is incredibly addictive, and it makes an even bigger impact on a young person.
And let's talk about that specifically. What are the effects of nicotine on the brain?
Well, the first, like I said, is addiction. Now, for young people, and I want to define that as people under the age of 25, you know, the brain is developing very rapidly, but the parts of the brain that are related to reward are outpacing the part of development of the brain that's related to executive decision making. So anything that's going to bring reward or feel pleasure is going to have a more addictive nature to a young person. A recent study that was presented at the American Neurologic Association found a decrease in test scores, decrease in areas of memory and concentration among college students that vaped. And a recent study also led by the American Heart Association found an increase in anxiety and depression amongst kids that vape. And that's because nicotine affects the part of the brain related to mood.
Now, any advice for families that discover that their child is vaping? I mean, how can they address it and help them quit?
Well, the first is, obviously, you find out that your kid is doing something like this. For many parents, the reaction is anger. We want to avoid anger. We want to realize it's really, not their fault, and bring in as much support as possible. Model good behavior. If parents are vaping, if there's nicotine products in the house, it becomes very difficult to then teach your children not to. Enroll your children in clubs, in sports. You want to replace the activity of vaping with something else, and then speak their language. There are a whole set of apps out there that are geared towards teenagers that can help them stop vaping. In fact, I just downloaded one of those apps on my phone yesterday called Tobacco Free Teens. And it's great because it speaks the language of teenagers. There's fun cartoons. You can play interactive games. And it's a great way to help support them through the process.
Yeah, great advice. Dr. Kumar, thank you so much this morning.
Thank you.
And remember, you can catch Dr. Kumar's segments every Monday at 7:15 a.m.
All right, folks, thank you very much. I hope you heard that. I hope you learned something. Quickly, Shortman, pull up video picture E for me, please. And we could, when we go in, we could close out with the thing from Tamiko. Right? Let's say what, Pastor, you have a minute and 30 seconds.
A minute.
Shoot.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
All right, so I want to apologize to the young lady, all right, on behalf of the Christian community. And my first thing I want to do is apologize to you, letting you know that that's not the way how the pastor or whoever you will have had your encounter with. That's not how every pastor operates. So I don't want anybody to believe that that is the modus operandi of the church on a whole. Please, that is not how we operate. There are some pastors who have not been trained to deal with situations like domestic violence and other stuff the way it's supposed to be. Where there are weaknesses, they were supposed to have another minister or somebody at the church, or they can call in persons to assist them in situations like that. So let me apologize to you if that did not happening in your case. All right? Really, I want to apologize because I'm listening to it and I'm saying, please, I don't want people to believe that that's how everybody operates.
Yeah. Well,
all right?
Yes.
I have had situations like that to deal with, and I understand Natasha's point of men holding men accountable. And yes, there are men's group in churches that hold men accountable for their actions. There are men's group in churches that go as far as to take the young men, some of the men, under their wing and take them away, even have them live with them for a time to try to let them see what a proper house or meal is supposed to be.
Yes.
So there are situations and there are proper ministries that deal with these things in a proper way. If a church, and when somebody, let's say this quickly as I close off. There are some independent churches that are totally separated and apart from mainstream churches that do their things. You have to know when you're going to be a part of a church, who are they covering under? Who are they answerable to? Is there another bishop or apostle I could go to and tell them that this is what I'm going through, I'm not getting proper assistance? You have to look at all of those things, and instead of just running to somebody who's just independent of everybody else. So again, I want to apologize to you, and I want to say to Trinidad and Tobago that there are churches that do have programs to assist men, and yes, there are men who have changed from that mindset. There was a pastor who is unread, who always says it, that he was abusive to his wife, and he has changed. If you're preaching a gospel that doesn't change anybody, then it's a waste of time. My lifestyle has changed. I have not adjusted. I have somebody talk about, people that adjust. No. I haven't adjusted. I've changed.
Okay, my brother, thank you very much for that contribution. I appreciate it. One love. Pull up this picture quick, short, man. Let me just spend 1 minute on this and ask Elena to close off, and then we will go to that video. Folks, remember that story that hit this week? I want you to take a look at this guy's face. That's all I was concentrating on. Look at his face. What do you think is going through his mind right now? This is the end. Because you just throw away a beautiful career. No. You know, some people would say, but why it is you always in the regiment business? Let me tell you how it is for some of us old soldiers out here, right? And like for me, you know, you get a good woman, you had a good woman and you do something and you mess it up. Or, you know, well, all you were friends and you have to move on, you know, things didn't work out. And when every time you see an ex-man abusing her, how it feels, and you have to jump in. That's how we feel when we see you soldiers and servicemen have the opportunity to have a good career and you're messing it up. That is all I can say to you right now. That is why we are so hurt. Another soldier bites the dust. Elena, closing remarks, please.
I would definitely say, as Natasha been saying last week and this week, we the victims cannot fix the abuser.
Yeah.
That is not our job. We cannot do it. As the pastor said, yes, some men do change. It's not our job. We cannot do it. Allow that process to happen, not being any pitier. And number two, for us women who stay in abusive relationships because of the children, it does more harm than good.
Yep.
So we need to get that excuse out. I remember with the caller last week where he got you hot.
Mm-hmm.
And I sat down and I kind of understood what he said. For some of us, that's the culture. Where our parents, grandparents, sometimes because his sister married, we don't want to go through a divorce because we don't want them to know things ain't going good. Or because our parents was married for 20, 30 years, how we going to look if we divorce? So it's kind of a culture. We really need to break that and to let go. And prayer do changes things. Keep praying and you will get out. And once you get that foot out of the door, please keep running. Keep going. Do not look back.
Thank you very much, my
Thank
dear.
you so
Well
much.
said. So, man, go to that video. Let's go out with it.
End with Happy Spiritual Baptist Liberation Day to you all. This is a medley of songs by Tamiko Spicy Moore and led by the late Dr. Leah Brown.
See you all next week. Please go at the same time, 12:30. Have a good week. Bye-bye.